Hello, bonjour. As you can see, I'm in the same position I was in the last video because I've had to pre-record these. Just let you know, this is part 2 of my interview with my friend Jacqui. Lots more to cover. Hopefully you'll enjoy this episode as much as the last one, assuming you did. So please, if you've got any questions on any of these videos, please put them in the comments or maybe even email me. You can find my email address in the description, which is now under, I think, more, or you can click on the 3 dots which come under the description, or thereabouts anyway. So yes, hopefully you'll enjoy this, and I'm going to go carry on finishing editing it. Au revoir. You are now resident, obviously. Now this is where I get confused. So are you living here under a carte de séjour, or so you're not actually a, what do they call it?
National.
A citizen. Is what I'm thinking of. That's it.
My children are.
Oh right, okay.
So me and my ex-husband, we've got the carte de séjour, which means we're resident.
Mm-hmm.
They both have dual nationality. They went through the much bigger process. So they are French British. They still have a British passport, but they're French citizens.
And why would that be? Because they're under a certain age, or because they went to school here, or?
Because we all decided it would be best for them, because they were going to continue living here. You would still be part of Europe, and have, after Brexit, we are still British nationals, so we don't. Britain is like the rest of the world. Whereas for them, they have all of the French rights as a citizen, and part of that is being part of Europe.
Right.
So you don't need to have special visas or travel permits. You can go anywhere in Europe and work, and so for them, we thought it's necessary. So.
Well, they've got a longer future here, and it could affect their whatever careers are going to, or anything, couldn't it?
Yeah.
So, do you think you would say you miss about the UK?
My mum. When we first came here, I think the first 2 years were very, very difficult, because I didn't realise how big a change it would be, which sounds crazy, but suddenly all of your support network disappears. So you've got to have, if you're married or in a relationship, you've got to have a good relationship, which we did. I know we're divorced now. We were married for nearly 30 years. So you've not got your friends, your family, and little things like we couldn't get British television, which shouldn't matter, but for us and for the kids it was a bit difficult. So that was hard, and you have to rely on each other an awful lot. That's why you need to have that strong basis, isn't it? Yeah. And I did miss my family, my mum in particular, because we're very close. But as time has gone on, that's still the case, and particularly my mum was unwell, very ill last year. So being in a different country, and although we're fairly close, you need to get over there, and you worry. But that's the only thing, really. I used to miss certain foods, but most supermarkets here have British food. Not that I buy very much. I think when I go back to the UK, there is a relief to be talking in my mother tongue and to understand all of the conversations going on around me. It can have its advantages and disadvantages, can't it? When you start hearing rows going on around you, and here you can just about hear someone having an argument, but you don't always. Well, you might know, but most of us don't really know what they're arguing about. Yeah, but it's just their manner as well, I think. Yes, I think that there is a manner, particularly with French officials, that brusqueness, and not smiling. Yeah. To begin with, I find the French here in this area very, very friendly, very helpful. But officials, even receptionists, if they don't know you, they will not smile until they've got to know you.
It's how you approach them as well, isn't it?
Oh yes,
But
definitely.
I mean, I don't think I'm a particularly smiley person. People can mistake me and think I'm, different to what I am. So I think, maybe it's just like that with the French as well. I don't know.
I think with the language, although my French is good, if I've got to go and do something new, something official, I have to look up certain words beforehand. So I still have to prepare a little bit. Whereas in the UK, I know all the words.
Yeah.
But it's not a huge thing.
I think when it's something official, though, but it's official or it's medical, you would just want to make sure that's why you look it up, isn't it? Because you want to make sure that you're going to be understood.
Yeah. And just little things like last week, I finally went to the opticians. I'm picking up my glasses today.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully. So I looked up frames, lenses. I couldn't remember what lenses was. Just a couple of little words beforehand.
Well, they're not everyday words as such, are they?
Which made it that much easier. Because I can talk around things, no problem. But sometimes, like say medical, particularly. But do I miss the UK? No. And I think what strikes me when I go back is just the density of people, the amount of traffic is unbelievable.
I think a lot of countries are similar to France, aren't they? Because there's a lot more space in other countries.
Yeah.
The UK is just like you say, everything's so dense, just condensed. Everything's there's too many people, too many traffic, too many buildings.
Yeah.
There are parts of England that are nice in countryside, but no, it does, especially where we're from in the south. I think it just seems more people, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes. So I do like those sort of open spaces here. And
what about? Do you find you've missed public transport?
yes.
Yeah. So
Yes, I used to use it a lot. I still, when I go back to the UK on my own, I don't take my car because Seaford, there's a train station and there are buses to Eastbourne and Brighton every quarter of an hour. And I love using public transport, partly for the environment, but I just enjoy the experience.
Yeah, I do think myself even, I do know it's just more convenient. Although then again, the more convenient the travelling is, the more chances you've got to go spend money. Because if you can't go anywhere, then you don't spend the money, do you? But
Yes, that's a good point though, because I mean I've got, like I said, a little supermarket and stuff in the village, but I have to drive for almost everything, which is a shame.
Well, it's just sometimes it's a good thing because it means you've got to go out rather than just around the corner. But
I do miss being able to walk to the shops.
I wish I could. I quite often I'm looking to see why haven't they got a path that goes all the way up to Lasset. It might take a long way to get there, but if there was a path, they'd probably use it. But you can't walk on the road. So. What about the opening hours and that? Do you find that a hassle, or do you again just used to that again?
Not anymore.
No.
When we first came here, yes. And I think particularly when I was picking the children up at midday when they were very young. So I only had a slot from 9 till 12 to get things done.
Yeah, it's not long when you really think about it, is it?
If I go to a town to do lots of different things, I'm aware which shops shut at lunchtime and which ones don't. So I stagger my shopping areas.
Yeah, I think shopping takes a lot more planning as such, doesn't it? You can't just pop out and then just find everything open.
Yeah. I don't find it a problem at all now.
No, so you won't be wishing it went back to the same as what you used to in the UK.
God,
then.
no. And I love the fact that most shops are shut on a Sunday. Sundays are still family time.
Yeah.
And I hate the 24/7 that you have in the UK. I think it's unnecessary.
Well, it's got worse than 24/7. You can sit indoors and just get all the stuff in all the time. That's even worse, isn't it?
Although for my mum, it's really good.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's good. Yeah, for anybody that's disabled or can't get about much, yeah.
Yeah.
But only do it for them, no one else.
Yes, yeah. It's just the UK is such a consumer society, and much less so here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Looking at the future, do you see yourself growing old here? Or do you think, so you don't see yourself going back as far as you're concerned to
No.
the UK?
No, I mean, I'd probably have very little pension, but that'd be the same in the UK. Yeah, I have no desire to go back to the UK. Yeah, I'm here for good. And this is my home.
Would you foresee any problems? I mean, I think you're probably less because your French is good, but would you foresee any problems? I mean, I think one for me a fear would be having to go into a APAD, like a retirement place or something, and being surrounded by only French. I would hope that now there'd be more English in there than there is now, but it's a scary thought.
Yeah. I think also, although my son Isaac spent a couple of years in England as an adult, I've also got my 2 children in France.
That's a good point, yeah, so it will make a difference.
So I'm not saying I would expect them to look after me, but I have a tiny support network with them. I think more so it's me living on my own and becoming older or unwell. That worries me more in a way than going to retirement home when the time comes.
Oh really?
Yeah.
See, that's why a lot of people end up going back to the UK, don't they? Because they worry about their health here and not being understood, which to me is just not a problem now, because they speak so well in hospitals, don't they? You can make yourself understood more.
Yeah, that's not really a concern for me at all. Plus, the health system here is so much better than the poor, crumbling NHS. It's a very good system. There's blips, there's things perhaps you do have to wait for, but I've had very, very good experience of the health service. Yeah.
Good. Have you ever had any problems with any of the doctors and nurses? Are they all?
Doctors and nurses generally fine. We've had major problems a couple of times with dentists with my kids.
Oh really?
An ophthalmologist with one of my children. I mean, really big fallouts, and it's partly the different attitude. Like the first one with the dentist, it was Isaac's first and Katie's first time to the dentist in Mayenne. But thankfully, this is the older generation of French. The people we saw were near retirement age.
Ah.
And they're very brusque, the child does as they're told. They shouldn't be worried. Why would they be worried? And this woman was a dragon. She was horrible. And Isaac was a bit nervous, and I said, she's not going to do anything, it's just a check-up. And then he's in the chair, and she said, oh, he needs 2 fillings, I'll do it now. And Isaac sort of looked at us, and he started crying. So he's 5 years old, you know. So I was talking to him in English to reassure him, because me and Mark were in the same room. And she turned round to me and said, Qu'est-ce que vous faites là? What are you doing? I said, well, I'm reassuring him in English, because he's a bit frightened. It's his first time to the dentist in France. Si il a peur, c'est vous qui l'avez fait peur. If he's frightened, it's you that has made him frightened. Why would he be frightened on the first visit? And then she said to us, if either of you, me and my husband, if either of you say another word, you can wait outside.
Wow.
So we're like, okay, but she was furious. And then she was saying, never in my 30 years as a dentist have I come across this kind of thing. And we
wow.
Okay.
But doesn't that show you, though, a different attitude to things? I mean, maybe that's why, I don't know about you, but I find the French children so well behaved.
Yes. And there's zero...
They won't take any nonsense.
Yeah.
And
there's zero tolerance of bad behaviour in a supermarket, for example. Very, very rare you hear a child kicking off, and ends quickly.
Yeah.
I've never seen a child having a tantrum in public.
I mean, I know for sure if I'm in the UK, I'm always getting annoyed with certain parents because they're pandering. What's the word? Pandering to them all the time, and it drives me mad. But you just wouldn't see that here.
So yeah, it was more to do with the children, but I realised part of the difficulties that professionals of a certain age, medical professionals, don't expect you to ask questions. And I'm used to the UK where I'm a patient or my child's the patient, I have a right to ask questions or just to clarify things. And they would have this real attitude of...
that goes into other areas, doesn't it, when you think about it? Because I know when we first came here, if you had something, you bought something and it broke, wasn't it? And you took it back, it was that attitude of, what right have you got to bring that back? There's nothing wrong with that, even though it's not working. And
yeah, well, the Gaelic shrug and that.
Yeah, it's strange.
There's nothing we can do. It's improving. Having said that,
it definitely is. Yeah,
and most experiences, medical experiences I've had for me, my kids, and an elderly friend of mine who had to go into hospital have been very, very good. And the age level is younger. I find with the people who are more newly qualified in their 20s, 30s, 40s, the attitude is completely different.
Yeah, I think they're more worldly, as for want of a better way of putting it, aren't they now?
There's more customer service, there's more listening to patients.
Well, when we first came over, we bought a fridge here. Within a week it broke, took it back, and straight away, instead of just saying, we'll give you a new one because it's that quick, they wanted to send it away to be repaired. And we thought, what? We haven't done anything to it. You'd never get that in the UK, would you, at all? They'd just have to, you might have to wait, but they'll just get you a new one.
The idea of repairing I like, but not in that circumstance.
No, exactly, not when you've had it a week.
Yeah, I've had lots of experiences like that, but I do think that, the attitude has changed a lot as the older ones retire. So,
regarding that, you talk about the dentist, now knowing that it's changed, you've got no hesitation to visit them now. That hasn't put you off?
No. Again, I think the longer you're here, the more I spoke with French people, particularly, and they would recommend a doctor or a dentist or a specialist, so then you know that they're okay.
Yeah. Talking about doctors, did you find it difficult to get a doctor when you first came?
No.
Was you looking for a doctor that spoke English, or just a doctor that you could get into? Just
a doctor, a local doctor. He's got a tiny bit of English, but he's very, very good. He's about to retire now, but he's been our family doctor for nearly 20 years.
So you still go to him?
Yes.
Oh, right. Because that's the other thing here, isn't it? They're not really in catchment areas, are they? You can go to whatever you want, I think, can't you?
You can, but as you know, I'm sure there's a huge shortage of doctors now.
Yeah, because a lot. We changed from one doctor because she was going back to Romania to a doctor nearby, and as soon as we got on his books, he said, "I'm retiring in 2 years." So now we're back to the other doctor because she didn't go to Romania, but that just made me think there must be a lot of doctors out there now retiring, and I think that's what I've heard since.
And they're not being replaced because doctors, general practitioners, younger people particularly, don't want to work in the rural areas. I've been told that I will struggle to get a new doctor when he retires, and I've asked around and there's no system. I asked at the surgery, is there a waiting list? No,
I've never heard of
and I
waiting.
said, well, what do I do if Dr. Louisier retires? All the other doctors are saying I'm full, I'm not taking anyone on. And she just said, I don't know. I did get a little bit arsey again. I just said to her, look, you work here. You're the receptionist, there must be a system. And she said, well, what did your doctor say? And he said he doesn't know. And she said, yeah. So it's something I must look into, because when he retires, and I've also changed department, it doesn't really matter, but I want to try and get a GP locally.
Mm.
But they've said in Seosei, which is the nearest one, they're not taking on any new patients. And a lot of people, what's happening now, unfortunately, is people can't, French as well, French people can't get a doctor, so they have no registered doctor and they're going to A&E because they can't get an appointment. So the A&E...
That's what's happening in UK, though,
exactly,
isn't it?
same pattern. So A&E is now getting overwhelmed with things that are not emergencies. So
Something's gone wrong somewhere, isn't it, that they're not getting new doctors. I know when we went to the second doctor, he was having what do they call them, like trainees coming in on particular days.
yes,
So we thought we might
Yeah.
have had a doctor out of one of those, but they moved on and another one come in.
Yeah,
So,
they
yeah.
can't.
So at least they're still out there training. So hopefully
Yes.
somewhere along the line they'll come out.
Yeah, they tend to be with my doctor for 6 months at a time.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and very good.
Yeah.
So young.
I know. I felt like I was being seen by a
Do your
teenager.
parents know you're out?
Yeah.
And they're fully trained.
I know. It's incredible.
It shows you your age.
We have to start somewhere. Again, this goes back too far now for you, but whether it was difficult to get your carte vitale. Did you have any problems with that at the time?
No. It took quite a while. I seem to remember.
Mm.
But yeah, I think that the difficulty is when you come here, because it's a different country. You have to try and do everything at once, so it is quite stressful.
It is initially, yeah.
You know, you have to get the car insured, the car registered, get your health cover, get your carte vitale.
Mm.
I can't think what else, but just connected to services. Whereas in our lives before, something would run out and you'd do it then.
Mm.
But it is quite
I
overwhelming.
wonder if it's more complicated now since Brexit. I need to find someone who's moved here since Brexit.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can actually live here now unless they're retired, can they? You can come here retired.
And I think there's a certain amount of time you can spend here if you're not.
If you're not, it's that thing, the 90-180 thing, isn't it? Although that looks to be changing, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I need to find someone who's actually been here since Brexit because it might be
All
more
changed.
complicated. Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, they always recommend taking top-up insurance. Did you actually do that? Yeah. Did you find it expensive, or again? I think it's another thing you have to shop around for, don't you? Trying to find one with the right.
Yes. We've changed insurance companies a number of times for different reasons. Partly, one time was Mark's Decimal. He could get it a lot cheaper with another company, so we took everything to that company.
Oh right, yeah, it makes more sense then, doesn't it?
It didn't seem a huge expense. I can't remember what we paid originally.
Can you, when you was a family, can you pay like just a package, as it were?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think Mark's was the main name, and I was the spouse and the kids, and we were all in the same package.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing, and it's what package to get, isn't it? To get it with optical and dentists and all that. And we didn't bother, we just went for hospital.
We started minimum because I'm a low earner, and particularly since I've been living on my own, because there's one salary and my earnings come and go a lot. I now get a benefit called RSA, and I can't remember what it stands for. Something solidaire. So
right.
It's to top up your earnings. So if I earn X amount, they look at the ratio and they'll top it up to a certain amount. So I have to declare every 3 months how much I've earned.
Oh really? Oh, so it's so the cotisations thing, is that the same thing?
No, it's,
right.
It's separate from that.
Right,
It's
okay.
part of the benefit system. And say I earn, I don't know, 1,000 in a month. And that's not enough, they'll top it up, say 200. If I earn more, they'll top it up less.
So they bring it more to what they consider as a living
wage. And because I get that, I also now get free top-up insurance.
Oh right.
So, it kicks off different things.
Yes.
much like the benefit system used to be in the UK. I don't
Yeah,
know
I was
about
just
now.
going to say, I suppose it's that thing where you could do 16 hours a week, isn't it? And then with that goes all the other benefits and things you can
Exactly.
get.
There's
right.
a kind of plateau. I'm below that all the time. I'm never above it, so I get the top up money each week month. But that kicks off. For example, I've been to the ophthalmologist. That was free. The glasses I've got, the first pair is free because I'm on this benefit.
Is it like it was with the National Health in the UK? Are there a certain level of glasses that you get free, then you got to pay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there's very little choice of frames, and she actually said to me that on benefits, the quality of the lenses is not as good as if you pay.
Really?
And I said to her, that's not fair. And she said, I know.
I'd have thought it'd be the lenses would be whatever,
Oh,
and
really?
the frames may be different.
Bizarre. So,
Oh.
but I decided to get a second pair sunglasses with the same prescription, and that I have to pay for, but only 150 euros.
No, that's not too bad. Could
Yeah.
be worse, couldn't it?
So again, the benefit system here was good. There's a lot out there that people can claim.
I mean,
If you need.
like when you first came here, or just in general, we'll say, if you ever had any trouble really integrating with the French?
No, very occasionally, if there was a dispute, I mean, I don't mean a big dispute, but think of an example where a French person will say, "Oh, vous anglais, vous ne comprenez pas. You English, you don't understand." And sometimes that can be brought up. For example, the fishermen that used to camp outside our house and be noisy or do their business in the woods. And I would go down and have a word now and again. I remember one of them saying, "Oh, you're English, you wouldn't understand. We were here before you," and la 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 la.
Yeah, you might have been, but doesn't mean to say you do that there.
No, it's just mutual respect.
Yeah.
Very, very rare. But I do say to French people when they say, "Oh, les Anglais," the English, I say, "No, les Britanniques," British, because I say there's English, Irish, Scottish, and Welsh. And but it's toujours les Anglais. The English. But no, very rare. Generally, very welcoming, friendly, happy to help. Yeah.
Have you ever managed to make like French friends?
I have, but it's been quite transient. We had some very good friends who were parents of our children's friends when they were young.
Oh yeah, that's always a good way in as well, isn't
definitely.
it?
Our kids were our ticket into that community. It makes it so much easier to integrate. And we've hardly seen them since the children have become adults and gone their separate ways.
Yeah, it's quite common though, isn't it?
So it's not because they're French and we're English, it's just life moves on. I've got maybe 3 sort of close French friends, but again, they don't live locally, so I don't often see them. I've got a lot of French acquaintances in the village, but more British friends, I would say, partly because of the pub.
Yeah. When you first come, did you actually know anybody here that helped you settle in, or was it literally just you, Mark, and the kids?
Just us.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, we had a married couple who were friends in our road in Eastbourne with 3 kids, and they'd moved to France the year before. So that might have been in the back of our minds. If they can do it, we can do it. But they live in Brittany, so we have seen them a couple of times, but nobody else.
Yeah. Did you know the distance between where you were and Brittany, how far away they would be?
But I think that's a good point again. Distances.
Yeah. Because everybody assumes when you come to France you're in the south with all the sun as well, don't they? My granddaughter did. She said, "Was it hot over there now?" No, it's probably the same as you at the moment.
But I think that's another thing. When we moved here, I was going to work more with teaching, and Mark was going to work less because he's always been the main breadwinner. And I just didn't have in my head the distances, because living in the southeast of England, as we said, it's all quite compact and dense. I could have worked in Eastbourne or Brighton, and teaching, it's
Mm.
easy peasy. The nearest language school to here is Wren.
Oh, is it really? God.
So I just had this
Mm.
assumption that in the big towns
And that's-
locally.
What's that? I know it's about 2.5 from us. I think
Yeah.
is it the same for you?
Mm.
Yeah. No, it's not always easy.
So we didn't do a lot of research before we
No.
came over. I made assumptions definitely about getting a teaching job, but it's the distances. You know, you look at a map and like the top of France is kind of like the bottom of England,
Yeah.
but there's a big distance between
Yeah. No, it's huge.
towns and
Well, it's a bit
cities.
like living in the States or somewhere, isn't it? You have
Yes.
to drive to go everywhere. It's just so
Yeah.
much more spread out.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to teaching, I mean, you what are you doing at the moment? You actually doing just private teaching? And is it in French or English or?
It's both, but I've done so many different jobs since I've been here. My first job,
What, around teaching?
yeah, my first job was teaching English in a college, which is secondary school in Mayenne. It was a nightmare,
Oh, right.
and I left before the end of my contract. I won't go into it because it
Mm.
would take too long.
Mm.
Then I started teaching English to local people, adults and children, teenagers. So it was all individuals at that point. Then I got a job as a bilingual admin assistant for an estate agent in Mayenne with Anita.
Oh, that's right, yeah. That's the first time when we knew you, yeah.
In my first sort of proper job, I
Yeah.
was actually, what do you call it, an employee. Everything else I do is self-employed. I did 2 6-month contracts, and then she offered me a permanent contract, which is like gold dust in France.
Mm.
Brexit happened and I was made redundant.
Mm. Yeah.
Bloody Brexit. But then I sent letters and CVs off to any language company I could find. Met Susan Cameron, who runs Anglais Communication, because all the rules have changed. As an auto-entrepreneur, self-employed person, I cannot work for businesses anymore on my own.
Because that was what you were doing, weren't you? Wasn't that? Is that the bit you were doing via Skype, teaching employees? Is that what you're saying?
But only once I met Susan, because she has a teaching platform, a teaching training company.
Oh, right.
So I am employed as a self-employed subcontractor. She pays me, the company pays her.
Right. Okay.
But the government's tightened up all the rules about English training more and more and more, and there's something new every couple of months that you have to fill in this new thing online. And
Is this whether you're French or English?
yes, yeah. And again, I won't go into it all because it would take ages. But yeah, very fortunate to meet her. So then I started teaching English in businesses, face to face and online. Very well paid because she's got a very good reputation. And the students, they have a personal training fund, every individual, which is paid for by the government. So Susan charges a good hourly rate because it's the government that's paying. Individuals don't like paying a good
No, well,
amount
a lot of
money.
people, haven't always got that much in their
They haven't
pocket.
got it, yeah.
No, it's the companies, it's different.
So it's been absolutely brilliant. My contracts come and go, so my wages are...
Yeah.
But
So you were teaching English to French,
Yeah,
but you also do French to English, don't you?
yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that where we used to live. And I've restarted it here, so people come to my house and I teach in my classroom, which is my dining room.
Yeah.
And I want to do more of that because the business teaching is getting harder and harder to find.
And what about teaching French via Skype or something? Is that something you're doing?
Possibly. I haven't at the moment.
I'm just thinking if there's any viewers watching that want to learn French, and it would be more convenient via Skype, whether they'd be interested.
Yeah. I mean, because I teach online all the time, teaching English, so it's just a swap. I tend to use Microsoft Teams rather than Skype because it's slightly better. But yeah, that's definitely.
So I could put your email address or something as a link if anybody's interested. Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So when you came, you wasn't going to do anything like run a sheet or anything like that. No, you had teaching in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mark had his skills.
Yeah.
And I had my language and teaching qualifications. So we did come here with tools.
Yeah. Did it take long for Mark to build up a clientele?
It did. Again, looking back on it, I can't think how long really, but it was very much word of mouth because because he didn't speak French, he started working for English speakers. So then the sort of expat community, if you like, he then got recommended, got a good reputation. He's done some work for French, but the vast majority is English speakers.
Yeah, I think it just ends up that way, doesn't it? Because it's the English that are seeking them out, I suppose.
Yeah.
Same with Duncan. You've obviously you must have a French licence now, I thought. You transferred your English to a French one?
Car licence.
Yeah, sorry, yes.
Yeah, we did that really early on.
Yeah.
Although I've still got the little card, I haven't got the plastic card. Because it's changed. If you get a driving licence now, it's like a credit card.
That's right, that's what I've got.
Oh yeah, I haven't got that. I've still got the little cardboard foldy thing.
Oh really?
Because I've had no reason to renew it.
Do you have to change at any point, or does it just last forever? I'm not sure how it works here.
I don't know.
No, I was just wondering because I know in the UK, I think you had to renew them, didn't you, after a while? Yeah, because that's when I did mine, because mine had expired from the UK.
Okay.
That's why I had to renew it here. So I didn't know if it was the same here. I haven't looked at the date on mine. It must run out at some point. But obviously, another thing is when you come here and you start driving. Was it long before you were driving a left-hand drive?
When we came here, we had a right-hand drive car. Then Mark bought a left-hand drive van, a small van, which I had to use for my first day at work at Collège Sévigné in Mayenne, and which I crashed on the way home.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this is the incident that's put you off driving at night? Yeah.
Or driving any long distance, dual carriageways, straight roads. No, I'm a lot better. Straight roads I can do, but for a while I couldn't. But it was because it was left-hand drive, I think. And the nerves of going for my first day at work as well. So I was coming home and I was still trying to... Which way round is it? I was still trying to change gear on the door.
Yes.
But the gear's this side, obviously.
Yeah.
So I was a bit... But yeah, I still don't know what happened. No one else involved. I looked over at something in the field on the left. I don't know what, an animal, just the movement. When I looked back at the road, I was heading for the verge. It had been raining, so I was heading for one of those raised grass verges. And I thought, damn, I was going to say something else.
So it's too late then.
I'm going to hit it. So I swerved, skidded on the mud, rolled across the road and ended upside down in the ditch on the other side. And thankfully there was no cars coming the other way.
Going into the ditches is quite a common accident here, isn't it? Because, I mean, they're there for a reason, but you do have to be careful, don't you?
But upside down.
God, upside down.
But I was fine, but the van was a write-off. So that was my first experience of driving a left-hand
How long had you
drive.
been here when you did that?
About 6 months.
Oh my God, no wonder.
But since then, I've just got used to it. You get used to it. I just don't think at all. It's automatic.
Yeah, well, I think it's horrible to say, but sometimes I think you need to almost have a small accident even, just to make you feel like, well,
to be aware.
Yeah, I mean, it's like people being scared of flying. I always relate to that because I think, well, until you fly, you're always going to be scared. You know, you just got to know you got the other side, just survived, and you go carry on.
I think it depends on the car as well. The car I've got now, I really like. It just feels like part of me when I'm driving it. Before we had slightly larger cars because we had the kids, and I never quite felt at ease with those.
No.
But yeah, it's not a problem at all, and it's better because obviously the roads are designed for left-hand drive, so the junctions, the angles, you can see everything, whereas right-hand drive, sometimes you're straining, it's difficult to overtake.
I've been in the countryside, there's a lot less traffic as well
Yes.
to even have to worry about. It's when you go into big towns it gets a little bit more.
Yeah.
I especially if I go into Laval, even though I know where I'm going, for some reason the fact there's a lot of traffic around, it can really just put me off. You've got someone start tooting you or something, and your concentration's gone. Do you enjoy French food? Now you're a pescatarian, aren't you?
No, I'm
Not even that now.
no. I have phases. I would like to be vegetarian.
Right. So not Sharon. That's what she says.
I know. I know, but I slip all the time. So for a long time, I didn't eat meat, but I ate fish, so pescatarian. Now I eat meat occasionally.
I remember you telling this story about once when Katie walked in and found you eating ham or something.
Yeah, can you remember what she said?
No.
Are you eating what I think you're eating? And I'd actually hidden the sandwich, going, no. And she's vegetarian. Her French boyfriend tries to be vegan, but it's very hard
I
here.
don't know how they do vegan.
Yeah. But yes, I do like French food.
And do you enjoy cooking yourself, or I know it's harder when you're on your own?
Do I enjoy
sometimes.
cooking generally?
Yeah.
No.
Oh really?
No, I've done.
Mark used to cook quite a lot, didn't he? I remember that.
At my insistence.
Oh, okay.
We got to a certain point where I said, look, I've been cooking for this family for 20 odd years, 25 years. So he started cooking on a Sunday, which is great. He'd do a roast or a curry. He's a good cook. I'm a cook because I have to. I can cook well, but it's sort of things that the kids will eat, and spaghetti bolognese, and occasionally something a bit more flamboyant. But it's not a process I enjoy. So living here on my own, I eat very easily prepared things, not always healthy.
So I assume from that you're not for a recipe every day sort of person. You just.
I used to be.
Did you?
Yeah, when I was cooking for the family.
Oh right, yeah.
And I would plan the whole week recipes.
Oh right.
Not
I
necessarily
know anybody that can
recipe.
do that, because I think I tried it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm very like that with my teaching, with my general life. I'm organised, lists
And planned.
Here now I'm on my own, it's hit and miss, but every now and again I'll cook something big, like a big spag bol or a vegetarian chilli or a vegetable casserole, and then I can freeze it, and that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Because it's home cooked, fresh food, and I can just take it out of the freezer.
Yeah. Have you ever had any trouble getting your ingredients when you've had to, like anything particular that you struggle with here to find?
Possibly certain spices. When Mark would cook curries, he would cook them from scratch. Again, I think that's better than it was. So certain sort of bizarre things that would have been bizarre in England.
Oh, right, okay.
You know, something that in a recipe that I have to look up what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, not particularly. I think the other thing is you've got a lot more seasonal fruit and veg here.
Yeah, that can sway you to whatever you're going to cook, can't it?
Because you know it's fresh. Because
Yeah.
I try to buy stuff from France or as near as possible, the fresh stuff. That's also changed. I see the strawberries in the shops now.
Far too many, and I'm thinking, are there any flavour in those?
I did have some. They were okay, but very sharp.
Yeah.
So that's
Forced on
changed a
ones,
bit.
sort of thing, aren't they?
Yeah, when we first came here, it was seasonal only. I mean, oranges and things maybe from Spain.
It's nice in a way, isn't it? I mean, I
prefer it.
I have a lot of
yeah.
have a lot of butternut squash and celeriac. I try not to have the potatoes and rice, and all of a sudden they seem to stop at some point, and I thought, what do I have now? You know, and cauliflower rice I have quite a lot. So yeah, cauliflower again. I suppose all three are winter veg, aren't they? So at a certain point they start to run low, and I have to struggle to find what I need.
But I think still in rural France, perhaps a certain age group again, but they will only cook with vegetables in season.
If you go in restaurants, they do, don't they? Sometimes you look for something and they look at you like you're mad. Yes, you can't have that now.
Yeah, and I remember a French friend of mine he's very sort of traditional French, and he's over 60, 70. And he was appalled. I mean, he waxes lyrical about it, that there were strawberries in the shop. You cannot buy them, you have to wait until they're properly in season. And to him it was just wrong. But he hated it. It's just not right. They won't taste.
I get what you're saying, is that I can be a bit like that. You know, you just think if it's there, then it's been forced on.
Yes.
Or it's travelled a long way to get here from a country that where they can do it.
It would have been not frozen. What do you call it? Sort of chilled on the way here. So yeah, I totally get it, and I prefer buying what's in season.
Yeah.
Although I did see the strawberries, and I bought them as a dessert to have with the chocolate pudding.
I was tempted, but some of the ones I saw were such huge pallets of it.
Oh,
and I can't use all those.
But
and
the other
thing
they came to stay, so I made a dessert for them.
Oh right.
So they don't normally have dessert.
And because the other thing I just noticed appeared yesterday or Monday in the shop was the asparagus is here, and every time I see it, I really should try and do a recipe, because I know what would happen. I'd keep saying, I'll try it tomorrow, and it'd be gone off. So
But do you remember in that Vie Grenier in Laval, we saw one asparagus
dish. There was two, wasn't
and
there?
then I kept seeing them.
Yeah, there was quite ugly dishes, weren't they? But it is just for asparagus. And I suppose it's big and elaborate because it's only a once a year thing or something.
Yeah.
It's only once a year they're out, isn't it?
I think so.
So yeah, it's like a present it on the table. But they like that with certain foods. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself going down the overseas section, like the?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, not
I don't use it for very much because of the cost, but.
Yeah, just if I fancy something, I'm ashamed to say baked beans, for example.
Oh, you're as bad as Sharon, so.
Like I say, not often, but I do go to Elliot's Boucherie, the English butchers in Mayenne, because they've now
He's moved, hasn't he?
Yeah, but he's taken on the mange to English goods
little
produce.
Supermarket, yeah.
So I tend to go there for vegetarian products.
Oh right, so he's got
because I don't eat much meat, so I get Quorn sausages, Linda McCartney mince beef pies, are not beef, obviously. So they've got quite a good selection of veggie stuff, so I can stock up there because you still get very little in the French shops.
Well, they're like cost-wise because it's obviously coming from the UK.
Well, I did do a comparison. I buy my veggie stuff there because I can't get it anywhere else. But I did do a comparison with the English aisle, British products aisle in Super U, and Super U was less expensive than the English shop.
That's surprising, really.
Not a lot, but say for example a bottle of salad cream, and they only do the big ones, €7, which is a lot of money. And I know they've brought it over from Ireland usually now, because it can't be. And it's cost. They've got to put all those costs into it, but I just couldn't do my shop like that. It's just too much money. No, it's very occasional things, and like when I go there for my vegetarian stuff, I have to walk past the other aisles, barbecue flavoured hula hoops. Oh, I just love them.
With me, it's if I see clotted cream in there, because you can't get clotted cream here, can you? So I will pick up some of that.
I don't go there looking for certain things, but something like the hula hoops will spark a memory. Like, oh, I'll have some of those.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, though. If I had that, if I get, like, when I go back to the UK and I have a real craving for ages, think, right, when I get there, I'm going to have this. And then I had it, I think, oh, it's a disappointment. You think, it's not as good as I remember it.
I've done exactly the same with the shopping Goron before it changed. And in their freezer section, they had hot cross buns, which I am going to try and buy for Easter, because I've tried to make them once and it took days. Oh, wait for this to rise, wait for that, and they didn't taste.
You just made me think. Actually, I might use my bread machine and see if I can make it in there.
So in the English produce shop, that's difficult to say. They had frozen hot cross buns and next to it crumpets. I was like, get myself some crumpets. This is for the family.
The Warburtons or something.
Yeah. So of course, defrosted them, toasted the crumpets, lashings of butter, and you bite into it, and it's like cooked lard. It was really disappointing.
Exactly the same. I think I bought 3 or 4 packets over when I bought them last, and every time I had them, I think, I must have had different memories of this because it doesn't taste the same.
No, it was just
weird.
But the hot cross buns, yeah.
Yeah, Duncan has a good currant bun. Like, that's what they are, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do you actually go to the boulangerie for any bread, or do you use the supermarket?
A supermarket. If I had a boulangerie here,
of course, yeah, you probably would.
I'd go to it. But like I say, at the little supermarché, the bread can be a day old, and of course, fresh bread, baguettes and stuff, it's rock hard.
Yeah, our little bar started trying to sell bread from the boulangerie a couple of kilometres away, and yeah, you've got to get it on the day it's delivered. Really, it's a shame, but I suppose it's not. He's only getting a small amount. It's not worth getting that every day.
Yeah.
And I suppose knowing that people are going to the supermarket or even to a baguette machine.
Well, did you know that's part of French law? It's an ancient law.
Oh, that they have to be available.
There has to be bread available in every village.
Yeah. Well, there's been a debate in our village because Francois, the man before, stopped doing dairy and bread and everything, and it was gone so long. In the end, we had an email come round that he was considering getting a machine, but we've got new people coming to run the bar, and if they do bread, we won't bother. But there was a big gap where we couldn't get bread locally. But he was considering it, so he did fail us for a little bit. We did.
Yeah, but I think this is one of those ancient laws. It goes back hundreds of years.
It does, yeah.
Possibly even Napoleonic. I don't know. So yeah, if you haven't got boulangerie, you have those ugly, horrible baguette machines, which I've never used.
But then there's at least making it available,
yes,
aren't they?
You've
but
still got fresh bread.
The French demand their bread every day.
Yes.
I mean, out a few of our neighbours, I know the old lady that died and her neighbour and someone else, always used to see him cross the square to go and get their baguette every day.
Yeah.
We've already touched on school and what age they were, so...
Yeah, just to say a little bit more about the school system.
Yeah.
It's very similar to in the UK, as in... They start younger here, but... The age for primary school, secondary, lycée is very, very similar. So they start secondary, which is college, at 11, but they leave at 15, and they do 3 years at lycée. Instead of lycée is kind of sixth form.
Oh, okay. I've always got confused with those which order they were in.
Yeah, and... It's a different form of education. Again, I think it's changing, but it's very regimented. So you tend to learn things in order to pass a test. Particularly when you're young and at college, you don't really ask questions, you don't discuss things. And it's very subject orientated. They have so many tests.
Are you saying it's sort of like dictated to them rather than...
Yes, there's very...
I can't think of another way of putting it.
Yes, they're not encouraged to question at all or to discuss until they're at lycée, which is what we used to call sixth form. So at the age of 16, 17, 18, that comes in a little bit. But it's very old school, if I can use that.
So this, what you're telling me, is that's from your memories of when yours were at school, or you've spoken to mum since? I'm just curious whether anything's changed.
I don't really know since.
Yeah, I just
So,
wonder
so
if...
again, it's quite a while ago, isn't it?
Mm.
Again, I think the older generation are retiring. I mean, I'll give you one example. This is going back to primary school, but Isaac was at Saint Joseph in Ambrière, but there was bullying and they denied that bullying happened at all, anywhere. They haven't even got a word for bullying in French. We took him out of there and took him to the local village school in Saint-Degas, which it was kind of better, plus he made a really good friend who was the son of a friend of mine. So far so good, but their teacher, who was also the head teacher, she was near retirement, and she was very old school, very strict, and if someone kept chattering or answering back, she used to tape their mouth up with sellotape.
That's going way back, isn't it? Some things he did hundreds of years ago. Wow.
And when Isaac told me that, I was, oh my God, this is, like you say, I think she had a stick as well. Not sure she actually hit anyone with it.
I'm not sure how I feel about all that. I mean, but look how badly behaved children are now. You just can't help but think like that.
I think there's a middle ground.
Oh, there's got to be, yeah.
Well, you're not
They've
physically abusing
No,
children.
they've got to.
There is respect.
I don't know about you, but when my children were small, you'd be able to just give them a look, couldn't you? And with mine, I could just glare at them. Didn't have to touch them or anything, and they'd know they'd done wrong. So something on those lines surely has got to be better than sellotape.
I know. It's too extreme.
I mean, I was brought up with a ruler of the knuckles and things like that at school.
I wasn't.
You know,
I
I wasn't the one at fault. Honestly, I was in class and it was someone else had done it, but I usually was the one that copped out. You know, it's.
Although having said that, in my secondary school we still had the cane.
Exactly.
I've never heard of a girl being caned, but a lot of my friends who were boys, not boyfriends, but including Mark, regularly got the cane on the hand, or I don't think he did backside by then. I think that had been stopped, but on the hand.
I don't know. It certainly makes children think, but it's not a good thing.
So my kids went through the whole school system. Can't think what Isaac did next. He did try Rennes University, but it didn't work for him. But my daughter then went on to university to do a licence, which is a 3-year bachelor degree, we'd call it.
Oh, right.
Then she went on to do a 2 years master's.
Gosh, she's put a lot of work in, hasn't she?
In psychology. She's now she's got a job as a clinical psychologist.
Wow. God, sounds so interesting.
Yeah, and she works with kids as well. It's fascinating, very hard work.
I always fancied doing a bit of psychology with kids because I worked with children. I always fancied that, but never went down that road. Yeah.
So she continued the whole. I mean, you could go further, but she did like the whole thing. Yeah, and then got a job in the field of psychology, and yeah, it's a good system. I do think that there is a little bit too much regimentation, but that is France. It's the same, like I said, with Mark registering. Well, you can't do all these different jobs. You're either this or this or this.
They are like that. I mean, everything's like they do a big Renier, same day, same town all the time, isn't it? Then they do things in a certain way. We found when we was on the committee in our village, and we kept looking at things.
What committee?
Yeah, and we kept sitting there wanting to say, but why don't you try this? Or why don't you try that? No, this is how we do it. We always do it like this. We're not going to, and that's how they are with everything. And it's what makes you wonder with the schooling and all that. Are they likely to bend? Is the next generation going to bend a bit, or is it always going to be this is how we do it?
Because I think it is generational. And another thing that's very interesting for me when I go to work in French businesses, people say 40 years and older have been working in that business for 20, 30, 40 years. Once they've got a job, they stick to that job.
Yes, and there's a reason for that, isn't there?
Partly you get better pension, you get better remuneration, but it's attitude. Because when I was working in the UK, I never had a job for more than, I think my longest was 4 years.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah.
And not because I was flighty, it was just that's what people did. So I worked in the care services, social services, and then national health, in mental health. And it was fascinating, great. I loved the work, but it was just known that after a few years you'd want to try something different. In the same field, probably.
Yeah, it's the same with me in nursery work.
But here, it's a bit like the 1930s, 40s, 50s, where men particularly, but women here as well, of a certain age, when you've got a job, you stick to it.
Well, I'd also heard that they can't sack you. So that's why a lot of people, and sometimes you can get really bad workers in a place because they can't sack you. And I think that sometimes that's why you get such bad people with bad attitudes in jobs.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's heard that somewhere or yeah.
I know there's another thing I like about France, that workers' rights are still very much protected.
But it's just in the same vein, isn't it? Then yeah.
Benefits, for example, are good. Workers' rights. You still have demonstrations, which can be a pain in the backside. But workers still have the right to strike and to demonstrate.
Was a truck went past, you suddenly went in darkness.
Yeah, yeah. I have a lot of traffic coming.
Yeah, I mean they will protest for their rights, won't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it can be a real pain, especially when you go on holiday and you never know if your plane's going to be cancelled.
Yeah, it can, but at the same time, I'm behind it and I respect it because, to me, it's necessary. It will change. Because
probably just life.
The government is pretty right wing and it's getting further right. So, and Macron has based certain things on the model in the UK, like changing education.
Oh, that's the last thing you need.
Getting rid of the village schools and having big schools.
Really? We've had a few. I must admit, in the last few years, we had few smaller schools closed.
Yeah,
because they combined with ones in Lassay.
The National Health, they don't call it that here, but the Health Service. He's looking at the British model.
Oh no! What's the matter with it?
Look at it, but then do something different.
Yeah, exactly. Learn from it. Don't do it.
I mean, the NHS decades ago was fantastic, but so we'll see what happens.
Are they looking at the right years when they're looking at? Oh, no, it makes no sense. We've come here to get away from that.
Because I still think I get the feeling that France is a socialist country. A socialist as in attitude, like workers' rights, the right to demonstrate. People who rent properties have really strong protection. I mean, who are tenants. All those kind of things. And yet the government is right of middle and is very quietly going further right. So I'm not quite sure what will happen, but certainly rural France, it's traditional, which can be frustrating in some ways, but people kind of know where, I don't really know their place, but they know where they're at and they're comfortable in that.
Yeah, it's that thing again about won't budge. They're safe doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no, I think it's like that in a lot of ways.
And the big cities, completely different story. Completely different. And my daughter and her boyfriend, although they're paxed now, so they've had a civil partnership.
Oh right,
They're not married, but they've got a civil partnership. They live in Nantes, and they bought a flat there. I paid how much for this house? It's a 3-bedroom house. It's quite a big house with a garden. I paid 58,000.
Really?
Plus no tear fees. They've bought a 2-bedroom flat in Nantes, and it was over 200,000. So, although people think property here is cheap, if you want all the amenities and as young people they want to be in a city...
Well, that's still cheap. That is still cheap to the UK though. I mean, that sounds a lot when you compare to here. But I mean, like, Sharon and I were looking at property the other day. I think she found one online, or so it's near Callum in Brighton, and they can like a silly little for a 3-bedroom terrace. It's just ridiculous.
I looked into it last year when my mother was really unwell, and at one point I considered I'll have to move back. Not I want to, but I'll have to. So I looked at property prices, and I could probably afford a beach hut.
Yeah. And they're pricey.
They're about 35,000.
I know, it's ridiculous
for a beach hut. There was nothing I could buy.
But this is what we say to anybody that's going back. I mean, I know a couple that's about to go back next month. And, you know, and say, how are you going to find anything? You know, I mean, they're going to rent someone else. So again, you can only go back and rent really, but then the rents are still sky high. I don't know how anybody goes back unless they've left a place there.
Yeah,
it's like you know, Judith from the book club. She's got a little annex built on the side of her son or daughter's house that when she goes back she can live in that. So if you've got them situations, then you can possibly do it. But
there's a couple of students of mine, English people, who came here for French with a group. They've had to go back to the UK. So they've still got a house here which they're going to sell, but they kept on a small flat in the UK. Her husband is very poorly suddenly with dementia. It was really gradual, but then a few weeks ago he just kind of lost it. So sad, lovely man. So I can't remember where it is, but they managed to keep that on. And I think if you are selling a property in the UK for a lot of money, it's worth thinking, buy somewhere cheap in France, but have something. Maybe just a room somewhere in the UK.
If I remember right, Sharon was thinking of doing something like that.
As a bolt hole.
Yeah, just even if it's a little one-bed place, if you're on your own, you can, or even if as a couple.
Or rent it out in the UK.
If you had to go back, you'd have something,
Because there's so many people, I mean, as you know, having lived here sort of a number of years, you don't know what's around the corner. And a partner, God help us, could die or become very ill, or I know quite a few women our kind of age who really miss their children and grandchildren.
That's quite common,
So they go back. Some people are really surprised at how difficult they find it to learn the language, and they go back. So you just don't know.
I mean, that would be another question I would ask you. I didn't, because obviously the language isn't a problem with you. But do you think people really should learn or do need to know French when they come here to live?
I think it's a good idea to know some. But having said that, I studied to A level without knowing I would ever live here. So I've already had some of it buried in there and it comes back. I think one of the biggest problems is where people are retired or only retired or not, but not working here, is that they like we did, buy a house in the country. And you might have one or two neighbours, you might not, but there's no way to practice French.
No.
And this is what a lot of my students find. You buy the dream home in the country that you could never afford in England or in the UK, but then you're quite isolated, and the only French you speak is in the supermarket, merci, bonjour. Whereas if you're in a village like here, it's easier to...
Just a couple of times a week you're going to see someone to converse with.
And you get to know neighbours, you can get involved in village activities if that's your thing. But I do also think one gets to a certain age and it's much more difficult to learn a foreign language. It's more difficult, as we know,
is it
to
age?
retain information anyway.
Yeah, because as I want to sort of say, is it age or is it just that... I mean, I'm not one for retaining stuff anyway. I didn't, even as a child, I didn't. So I think that's why it's taken me a lot longer than Duncan, because he does. He can read something and it's there. Whereas I've never been able to do that. So I kind of think sometimes it's more that, but I do think
there are different brain types, and I do think some people have more of a facility to learn languages than others. I just think that's a fact.
Yeah.
But
and they say, don't they, if you've once you've learnt 2 or 3 languages, you should find it easier. I mean, I think that get with Sharon's son. He can just do a language just like that because I think he's Chinese or something like that.
Wow.
I mean, it's one of those Asian languages.
Yeah.
And I think if you can do that, you know.
And that's different symbols and everything. I mean,
yeah, but I think if it's they just say it's easier. I suppose in certain countries it must be easier because I mean, like you've got Italian and French, Spanish and that. There's some similarities.
They're all what they call sort of Romance languages. They have similar roots.
Yeah, so it's probably
Whereas
easier to
English
get those.
Is a mixture of Anglo-Saxon,
Yeah.
Viking, German, French. It's such a mishmash.
Did Sharon tell you about the podcast that we watch occasionally, Rob Words?
Yes.
It's good. I love watching that for learning that sort of thing about where all the languages and words have come from. Anyway, we're done now. Thank you, Jacqui.
That's okay.
Finally got there. Had to get a few hiccups to get here.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate it, and you have to look at yourself on screen when it's done. Maybe.
Maybe not.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Oh.